About 6 centuries before the birth of Christ, the people of Judah were exiled to Babylon. And during that period of exile, they experienced a whole lot of confusion and uncertainty. After all, they had been exiled from the promised land. If God had promised it, why were they being forced to leave it? What did this mean? Had God abandoned them? Was life meaningless? And so while living in Babylon, a writer came up with a new story of creation. It wasn't like the earlier account found in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, in which God is intimately involved in the creation, shaping humans from the dust of the earth and enlivening them with God's own breath. And it wasn't like the much older creation story of their Babylonian captors, in which the god Marduk kills the goddess Tiamat and cuts her body in two, using one half to create earth and the other half to create heaven. No, this was a new creation story, one offered up as a response to the chaos the Judean exiles were experiencing. There are no battles taking place in this story. God is supremely powerful and in control of everything. God speaks with authority and things happen. This morning's translation says the earth was without shape or form. It was dark over the deep sea. But another translation puts it this way: the earth was complete chaos, and darkness covered the face of the deep. So in this creation story, the earth already existed, but it was pure and utter chaos, something to which the exiled people could have easily related. Their own world felt as if it was pure and utter chaos too. And so the writer describes how God creates order out of chaos. And after each act of creation, God pronounces it to be good. But unlike the Babylonian creation story, in which describes one God vanquishing and destroying another, the God we see in this story creates one thing to stand alongside another. Light doesn't conquer darkness, but instead God separates them from each other so that there is both day and night. God does the same with the land and sea, heavens and earth, fish and birds, and even male and female. One doesn't overpower and eliminate the other. They coexist in a balanced system of order and harmony and stability. This would have been an explanation for the exiles who questioned why they had to live alongside the Babylonian people with their alien gods and foreign culture. The story tells them that it's not God's will that one destroy the other, but that they should coexist, albeit separately. So this is a story about God taking a look around, seeing the chaos that is dominating everything, and out of that chaos, God creates goodness. But it's also a story about our God-like nature. We read that everyone, both male and female, the text says, everyone is made in the image of God. This morning's translation says we are made to resemble God. And since we have just read a story about a God who creates goodness out of chaos, then when it says we are made to resemble God, made in God's likeness, God's intent is that we also take up that business of creating goodness out of chaos. Jesus spent his whole life creating goodness out of the chaos of his own day. When he touched lepers instead of avoiding them, When he healed them and restored their place within community, he was creating goodness out of the chaos that is associated with marginalization. When his culture insisted that Samaritans and women were subordinate to Jewish men, his disciples found him deep in conversation alone with a Samaritan woman at a water well. And with that simple act, he created goodness out of the chaos of dehumanization. When he transgressed societal norms by healing a Roman centurion's lover and a Syrophoenician woman's daughter, he created goodness out of chaos. When he produced an abundance of the best tasting wine at a wedding that was about to run out of wine, he created goodness out of chaos. And so if we are made in the image of God, and if we call ourselves followers of Jesus, then we need to be about the business of creating goodness out of chaos. This past Monday, half a dozen anti-LGBT bills were passed and will be making their way to Governor Abbott's desk for his signature, leaving our community in chaos and in fear of what the future holds for us. But on that same day, I was able to create a bit of goodness by performing a same-sex wedding. It doesn't vanquish or undo the cruel bills that will soon become law, but it stands alongside them. Goodness out of chaos. When some friends I know had a car accident, were banged up pretty badly and without transportation, I brought them a casserole, offered to run errands, and spent some time visiting with them, creating goodness out of the chaos of uncertainty and confusion. When our church decided to install a food pantry outside our building, we did more than feed a few people. We created goodness out of the chaos of hunger and homelessness in our church's neighborhood. Monarch butterflies are now on the endangered species list. When you plant milkweed for them, you create goodness out of the chaos of their near extinction. Chaos is inevitable. There's just no getting around it. It appears in your life without an invitation or advance notice. When it shows up and screams surprise in your face, it can be unsettling at the very least. There's no roadmap for moving forward, but doing nothing doesn't seem to be the answer either. So when it occurs, here are some things to remember. First, accept that there will always be tension between chaos and goodness. So decide which side you will be on. Are your actions contributing to the chaos of fear and despair, or are they introducing goodness into the world? Next, remember your Godness. And by that I mean, remember you are made in the image of God. Don't let chaos overwhelm you, but instead do something good, even if it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the chaos you are experiencing. Next, remember Jesus and imitate him. Being a follower of Jesus means more than accepting certain doctrines as truth. Being a follower means doing to the best of your ability what Jesus did. And Jesus created goodness. Next, surround yourself with like-minded people. We all know folks who have the ability to push our buttons. But there are also people who inspire us to do good. Spend more time with the second group of people. Regular church attendance is a good place to start. And finally, take a break. Rest. God did. After creating the cosmos, God rested. But here's the thing. The story opens up with the words, "When God began to create the heavens and the earth." That means the account we've been given is only the beginning. God's creative activity didn't end after 7 days. God rested after 6, then returned to work after the 7th. After we rest, we need to get back to the business of creating goodness again. There's still work to do, and we have been commissioned to do it. So the next time you see a dandelion pushing its way between the cracks of a sidewalk, or a rainbow that follows a thunderstorm, or a sunrise that leaves you breathless after the darkest of nights, let it be a reminder that God is always creating goodness to stand alongside the chaos in the world. And so should we. Amen.